Hi, and good morning, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy day to watch this guy in this really cool gray old vintage long sleeve t shirt from the NBA D League back in oh god, like 1999? Yeah, that's right. Albuquerque Thunderbirds. Um, Jesus, I'm old. I'm just saying. Basketball is a really popular sport in Albuquerque, and moreover, like in Texas and in New Mexico and in Colorado, parts of the Midwest. I mean, it's not as popular as you'd think. Like nationally, I mean, obviously, millions of people sit in their living room and on their couches watching Sunday football and these things. It's kind of like the American pastime, although I don't know if that's the correct like euphemism or whatever, because that might be baseball, but who knows? Baseball hasn't been popular since 1995. I mean, I don't know. As much as I'd love to like baseball, I just hate like rigged games, and I'd much rather just watch a sport that is being played to see who the real victor is, as opposed to like who wants to earn the most amount of money and so forth, as an unfortunate result of the monetization of sports. Now, that's not what we're going to be talking about this morning. We've talked about that before. That's a really unfortunate state of events, the fact that 12-year-olds are, getting prepaid debit cards so that they can illegally download DraftKings. And I'm just, Jesus, I'm just saying that, like, priorities, people, right? I mean, we probably shouldn't have chronic, young adults with gambling addictions right after they come out of college. I mean, there's so much more to suffer in life. I mean, why try and make it all just right at once, right when you begin your journey? So shout out to all those young men out there who are currently having to deal with a kind of addiction that by no means is your fault for having, all right? Because like you guys didn't just, download an app magically and pass legislation and completely override the Supreme Court and pay people off to get. I mean, geez, it's that's a real dark one. We'll have to revisit that at some point. Right now, we're going to be talking about Jeffrey Epstein and the Epstein emails that had just been leaked. Link in the description below. There's this really cool young guy, and he talks about a lot of stuff that most of us, I guess, including myself, up until this point, wouldn't really, I guess, touch with the, 10-foot pole. I mean, who wants to talk about Epstein? And, why don't I want to talk about Epstein, right? I mean, obviously, it's a pretty sad day when, like, regular, normal, dumb people like me, not like the guy in the link in the description below. Check out this video. It's an awesome video. This dude's an awesome creator. I watch all of his videos. He's definitely putting fries in bags. That's all I'm saying. But regardless, I've been waiting to talk about it more until more things have come out and so forth, and things continue to come out. And it's just a friendly reminder from a socialist here in the United States of America that I'm anti-fascist, I'm anti-hate, and moreover, fascism embodies, essentially, at its very premise, the collusion of government and private entities to make your life a terrible one, all at the cost of some dude named Jeffrey Epstein living his life for 50 years completely, with complete immunity, globally, as it concerns the committance of his absolute terrible, horrendous, unspeakable, heinous crimes. You feel me? And again, it doesn't matter if he was a Mossad agent. It doesn't matter if he worked for Israel. It doesn't matter if he worked for the United States of America. It doesn't matter if he worked for the 3rd Battalion Legion of Planet Dooku from, Galaxy 7, right? It doesn't really matter. What this man did is inarguably just very, very, very dark. I mean, again, you understand that, like, the world, in and of itself, has been dealing with wars, has been dealing with famine, has been dealing with, corrupt governments, and all while there continues to be this idea that for some reason we continue to incentivize all of the worst behavior. I mean, it's one thing, right? People are going to do bad things. Obviously, we get this. You know, we didn't just figure out that greed turns every human being with a decent conscience into Lex Luthor on steroids living in a different dimension where Lex Luthor isn't just alive to be Superman's counterpart and jealous of this man, which is super narcissistic in itself. Lex Luthor is my favorite supervillain of all time. This guy is like, man, he makes the fries and the bag and then puts the fries in the bag. An extremely determined individual, all at the cost of, his jealousy of another being, right? You can't be as good as Superman, so let's burn the world. All because, not the world because the world deserves it, or anything at all like that, but because, I'm jealous of this guy. And so I sort of feel like, again, priorities. I say this all the time. And again, I understand. The general public understands at some point that there are some evil dudes out there, evil women, evil, transgenders. I mean, whatever the case that you want to make is that, doesn't matter. There's some awful people out there, absolutely, without question. Now, I just am saying that we shouldn't incentivize that behavior, and moreover, why do individuals like Jeffrey Epstein exist to begin with? And I mean, again, is that a stupid question? I mean, do we not all have a brain, right? Is it not because we incentivize literal evil by perhaps maybe or maybe not, again, these are just my opinions, but by allowing people to literally invite to have others engage in what might otherwise not happen. You feel me? And that's my only argument, is that, while I understand this, while I understand that there's evil people, that's the very essence of entrapment and the morality of whether or not somebody would do something or they wouldn't, or just whether or not you would even present them with that question, simply because we're not really interested in the anecdotal or empirical results of what would happen if aforementioned things did occur. You see what I'm saying? Why ask, or why even offer all of the terrible things that this dude did just so that other people would have an option to do that? You understand what I'm saying? Meaning that is evil manufactured, and in and of itself, isn't that kind of redundant? Isn't manufactured evil saying unsolved mysteries? I mean, because evil, is an absolute, it's a decision, obviously. I mean, obviously it's manufactured, duh. Obviously a mystery is unsolved, duh. Again, I'm just saying that people like Jeffrey Epstein and moreover Ghislaine Maxwell, and I guess without going too much into, I mean, because we already all know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, we're not dumb. Again, we've talked about this before in previous videos. But what bothers me about this particular fascist occurrence is that there is still one of the perpetrators very much healthy, alive, and I mean, so far as intelligence goes, I mean, you couldn't make it any more transparent and or I mean, Jesus Christ, this is not a mystery. This is not an unsolved mystery. We know who is also or who allegedly, and by all means of that word, it's super generous so far as I'm concerned, because again, I thoroughly believe in the courts, in this country, and this is coming from somebody who has publicly acknowledged and will always continue to publicly acknowledge that I don't very much appreciate the Supreme Court Justice bench accepting legal bribes on behalf of anybody, whether that's a domestic partner, a foreign entity, a private individual. Again, that is wrong. That should be something that needs to be fixed legally. We need to address this terribly. We needed to address it in the Constitution, I mean, too bad they didn't make it completely clear that conflicts of interest so far as governing through a judicial body is completely against anything and everything that the morality and the ethics of legalized and formal recognized laws provide. So yeah, absolutely right. You feel me? Like, so much as I have a love for the court system here, I also think that it can definitely be better, you know, and that's kind of like what a working democracy is, so far as I'm concerned, right? And I mean, given like an opportunity to debate these things, I'd be more than happy to be more precise with all of the different kinds of aggregate data that I have stored up all up in my brain, you know. But again, the thing is like the legal precedent of allowing Elaine Maxwell to purge herself more than once and continue to receive any kind of immunity from our prosecutorial system is a complete it is a complete it's so I there aren't any other words to say to it except for like, you know, like effed up and just completely immoral, all of these different things. I mean, she's a monster, and to think anything else would be false. He was a monster. Anybody that allows these things to happen knowingly and literally like approves them and hangs out again, like, you know, it's one thing to offer up an evil service, it's another thing, right? It takes an equal amount of evil opportunity people to kind of take opportunities like that, you know. I mean, Jesus. And these guys had responsibilities, and that's the thing, is it's not their immoral behavior, it's not their, you know, whatever, their evilness, it's the fact that these guys do this while they're on the clock. You understand what I'm saying? High powered politicians. I mean, we fund the very people who live their lives like some terrible rerun of As the World Turns. You know, if you're any at all age that I think you are watching this video, that's a reference you'll definitely not get. And shout out to my grandma for making me watch telenovelas and As the World Turns growing up on the daily just after The Price is Right, because that's what came on in the morning. It was The Price is Right, and then As the World Turns, and I think the lunchtime news, and then another soap opera, and then like Oprah or something. So I'm just saying that, yeah, I still know the television daytime broadcast network schedule from 30 years ago. I love you, Grandma, and I miss you terribly. All right, again, it's an awful thing that we live in a world where the government is completely, again, is complicit beyond reason. You know, we've addressed such notable figures like Kash Patel. We've talked about or just briefly mentioned people like good old Pam Bondi. You know, I mean, these are the clowns that are currently, you know, putting the show on for all of us here at this circus that we used to call a democratic republic. And yeah, it bothers me a little bit, absolutely, that fascism is a real thing, and that I unfortunately, and you know, by all means, you guys, we're currently living through I don't know. I mean, you know, give me George W. Bush back again. I'd much rather be having like organized, classy debates about how to govern countries than, you know, these kinds of fascist talks about whether or not fascism is occurring and what exactly fascism means, right? Because at the end of the day, fascism is just simply the collusion of government and private and corporate interests, and that's collusion, right? Because they're in and of itself, in a democratic republic and any other kind of political ideology that you want to say, they're separate, and they're separate for a reason, just like church and state are separate for a reason, right? Like there's a conflict of interest when you try and consolidate too many high power things. You feel me? Like that's just the nature of like high power. I mean, again, I don't know. I know nothing. And in fact, let's end this in my character kind of part of the video by saying that people like Epstein are monsters. You feel me? And people that continue to engage in not just fascist like behavior, but the kind of, you know, psychological ops that experiment with other people in a way that is absolutely egregious and heinous, like shame on y'all. You feel me? Like, don't you have any like class or morality or sense of self, or do you not have children, or do you have you like, I mean, like what reason, what justification would any doofully sane-minded individual have for engaging in any of the activities and or behaviors that you know, were literally the way that this guy ran his life, and moreover hundreds of other people and very powerful people. And I can safely assume, right, that the victim list is thousands. What a terrible thing. What a terrible man, and what a terrible woman. So shout out to you, Elaine Maxwell. You know, you're not even from here. Sorry to bring that up, right? But it's really unfortunate that our American justice system has been so kind to you, seeing as though you don't deserve any of the kindness that you're being thrown. And I don't care what you know about anybody. You, my dear fellow human being, are absolutely guilty of being complicit in these really terrible things. And honestly, I mean, you should do us all a favor, right? I mean, oh God, Albert, what are you saying? I'm saying that you should be honest with yourself, and you should like just be accountable. You feel me? You lived like a good half century on the dime of literally every person you've ever interacted with, and that should be enough for you. So just rot away and be thankful that you have a place where you're not treated in the manner as if you treated others, because that would be really unfortunate, right? Like, and you wouldn't want that. And it's a good thing that there's a fascist government protecting you and all of your other criminal, crooked, crony friends, because if there wasn't, then you probably might not be in such cushy of circumstances. And I encourage you to like just suck it up and live out the rest of your life like just go away. I mean, sit in that cell and rot, because you've caused an unsurmisable amount of pain towards innocent people who had nothing to do with whatever it is that you and this other monster had going on. And again, like I no one cares, all right? Shame on the Israeli government, shame on the American government, shame on every government for allowing this kind of thing to happen. Again, and it's just, this is not the world that we need to live in. I prefer a world where diplomacy and the governance of self-sovereignty rules over corrupt fascist monsters who will continue to only behave in this way, seeing as though the incentivization of such behavior is currently rewarded with wealth, praise, and admiration. It's really unfortunate. Okay, so hey guys, thank you so much for watching my videos. We just made an unserious video, and now I'm on my way to do the rest of my errands for today. It's tough talking about these things, you feel me? Like, how can anybody not get passionate when talking about somebody like that guy or that woman? You feel me? It's just really unfortunate. I mean, most of us are living paycheck to paycheck, trying to like figure out whether or not we're going to be able to afford groceries next month, and there's monsters locked away in federal penitentiaries in the good old state of Texas, living like some type of resort lifestyle. You feel me? All at the cost of us, literally. So monsters, they may be the smartest of all of us. They get everything paid for free, even when they commit terrible, egregious, unforgivable, heinous crimes. They're literally just given immunity, and they're allowed to just live out the rest of their lives complaining and having interviews, and as if they still have something to say that would make it better or make them not guilty of the very things that we know they are all guilty of. So I don't know. Yeah, I get a little mad about it when I'm in character, and also when I'm just a normal guy, because again, it's so unfair. It's so unfair that the government floods the streets with drugs and causes all these problems, and they offer no solutions. Yeah, that's a little frustrating, right? It's a little frustrating, because the moment you think that there is some kind of accountability and that somebody who's done something so bad can actually be held accountable for their actions, they're not. So it's sort of like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Again, I can't be any more honest about that. So I hope that you guys are doing well. Seriously, I watched this video earlier, and I was listening to it in the background while I was doing stuff, and that man, like, again, like, homeless people get the cops called on them for stealing candy bars. You feel me? Like they get into altercations and die because people steal retail merchandise at Kohl's. Like, how on earth are we allowing this kind of behavior to continue? I'm not sure. I hope that you guys have a really good day. All right, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And watch my other video. It'll leave you a lot happier, because I know this one didn't leave us very much happy at all. Anyways, have a good day, all right, everyone, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.